own firm, it still does, have his own finance firm, but he got really interested in the question about participation and democracy. And so he started a new business to go along with it, dealing specifically with this, participation and democracy, and he realized, hey, a little education in this area might help me with this, and so he came to the University of Oklahoma to get a PhD in political science so that he can talk to you guys a lot about participation, but also because he has a career in this. And so just a reminder, right, this is a way that people make their living as well in terms of working with people in democratic ways, also working in campaigns, working in nonprofits, but also working in for-profit businesses that seek to engage in democracy. So, with no further ado, he's also an Olympian.
No, not Olympian.
Okay. Was a high hurdler at the college level and is now a hammer thrower. So, I mean, he does a lot. He's everything, right? All right, Rich Hill.
Thank you all. So today we're going to be talking about political participation and different ways to do that. Does anybody know, or is anybody even the least bit familiar about the song that I just played, We Are the World? What's that about?
Oh my gosh, hold on. It's about the United States supporting Africa because something was happening. I can't remember exactly what, but something was happening in Africa, and the United States had to step in. And so just to get Americans to participate, they had all these celebrities that was coming together to sing this song.
That's exactly right. So it was basically a song that where Quincy Jones, this big time producer, brought Michael Jackson and the who's who of rock and roll, R&B, rap, everything. They had all these people participate, and they created a song because they figured we can do something about a problem, which is famine in Africa, and we'll use our voices literally to get engagement, exactly what he said. And so that's fitting for today's discussion because it's a form of making your voice heard, participating in a political way, because their view was that the governments really weren't doing enough. So they're like, we can go and make a music video as well as a song that will be broadcast around the world. And then subsequently they had a Live Aid concert that went on sort of like a music festival today, except it was just a one-day thing, but they had everybody. I mean, you wouldn't, there's probably not a comparable festival to what they brought on there. Everybody didn't get like an hour or so. They did basically a song or two, and then we're off. But they had everybody at this particular festival, and they raised a bunch of money for Africa in doing this. And so, again, it ties to what we've been talking about, what Dr. Rowlett was talking about on Monday in terms of political participation. And what are some other ways that we can participate in government? Voting. Yep. What else? Town hall meetings. Anybody else? There's lots of things. How about marches? How about campus protests? I mean, everybody here should be familiar with those, camping out. Did anybody here camp out last year or set up a tent for the Palestine thing? Okay. It's just a form of having, it's a demonstration of a frustration that people feel, and we do something about it, right? We find ways to protest, we find ways to make our voices heard, and we hope that the government will do something about it. So if we're going to protest and if we're going to do these things, how much thought do you think should go into that? Do you guys has anybody here ever been to a rally, a march, or anything? What was it for?
I went to multiple Palestine protests over the last year, and that's everything. One of them specifically was at a Bank of America because of their involvement in like sending money and laundering money for Israel. There's a lot of forethought that goes into all of these events. Looking at like everything from how many people are going to be there to the safety of the event to who's going to speak and what's going to be said.
Exactly. Protest is protected right, is it not? Anybody? Yes? Why?
It's under the First Amendment. It's a freedom to assemble.
Exactly. And hey, Brianna, could you come up here for a second? Help me out. Just make sure it stays on, and then I'll have you do some other things. Thanks.
We can do that, Rich.
Huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So on this slide here, we talk about some other ways to participate. One of the main things here that it's on this slide that most people don't realize is a form of participation is actually sending money to a political candidate. It's something that a lot of people do. Has anybody here gotten an email asking for money on with this particular presidential campaign? Yeah? Has anybody sent money? Yeah? Okay. Great. It's just another way. I mean, I'm hit up daily. I made, in the last election, I gave both candidates, it's purple. I wanted to see what would happen and what goes on after you get the money. And then I proceeded to be inundated by both parties with just tons of email begging and pleading and saying how they needed funds to carry on the campaign and so forth. One of the things that is tied to this, let's go to, so how many people here have voted before? Just a couple? All right. How did you guys determine who you were going to vote for? Go ahead.
I mean, for one election, I really don't person I asked my boss who I should vote for, just because I didn't do anything against it. And then after that, I did my own research, saw who I resonated with most.
That's fair. What are you planning to do in this election?
Vote for myself.
Okay,
Honestly, but, I mean, I already know who I'm gonna vote for.
got it. And most people, I think, do. Are there any independents here? People, are you undecided or independent, or are you just independent?
Independent. I feel like both sides have good points, but there isn't one directly like right side. So I like to do my research on the topics instead of just like blindly following a person.
Right.
Like do and like learn about what they stand for and policies that they plan to implement when in office.
Got it. All right. So, does everybody agree? What's your name?
Josh.
Josh. Does everybody agree with what Josh said? Does anybody have a different way of thinking about how they should go about voting? I mean, you're about to do it. Is everybody planning to vote? How are you going to vote? What is your plan for how you're going to figure out who to vote for and so forth? Okay, great ideas, great ideas. What is the problem with your age group and voting? Why is there a lot of apathy in the age group?
I feel like our age group, Gen Z specifically, is very, very skewed easily by media. And not that there's not correct information from the media, but I just feel like we're very impressionable. And sometimes we're not always impressionable with the right information, I guess.
That's fair. Didn't we have a survey that went out a couple weeks ago?
I don't know about the survey, but I was gonna say that a lot of people like my age and younger, because I am a little bit older than almost everybody in here, don't feel represented by the people that are supposed to represent us. They're all like in their fifties or higher, so like we feel like they don't understand what we're going through or listen to us in general.
What's your name?
James.
Jamie. So Jamie says that your age group is not represented in any of the houses, presidency. You don't see people your age being represented. How many people here agree with that? Really, just a few. So the rest of you don't care if your age group is represented? Jamie also said that the older politicians aren't tapped into what you guys think and what you want. And so by virtue of that, they don't do a good job of representing you very well. Everybody agree with that or no?
I think it's worth noting that while a lot of people our age feel like that, we don't vote in primaries. We don't go out and vote for people who represent our views. And so what's the point in being apathetic or getting upset when it comes time for the presidential election when we don't feel represented? But you didn't do anything to make yourself represented. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. What's your name?
Jabez.
Jabez?
Jabez. Would it be-
Jabez. Jabez has a good point. Basically, if I'm summarizing here, if you're not voting, you're not actively trying to find information, you aren't doing anything like, I don't know, protest, donation, any of the things that make us involved in the politics for the very reason that you guys are taking this course, then he asserts that you don't really have good grounds to complain. Does anybody disagree with that? Does anybody think they should just be able to complain even though they don't do anything? Right? Doesn't make any sense, right? So I think these guys are onto something, and so what's the solution? What do you think the solution is? Yeah, you. Yes, you. What do you think the solution is? Everybody has a thought. So there's no right or, just what do you think? How do you think he fits this?
I feel like it might just be more education, maybe how stuff, politics can impact you. I feel like maybe the problem is, I just don't really know which party would help me better. Maybe if I just had more education, I can understand what I need.
Great point. What's your name?
Blake?
Blake? Blake. So Blake says more education, possibly. His issue is that he doesn't know which party really represents his interest, and so that creates a problem. Does anybody else feel that way? You do? What's your name?
Haley,
Haley. So why do you feel like that?
because I feel like there's things that I agree with on both sides, so it's like, I don't really know, like, what to do. So sometimes it can, I feel like, create people to like, not do anything, because they don't know which side to like go for.
Okay. Let's go to, let's jump to, actually, just type in, All right. So let's start trying to figure this out. What's something that one of the candidates right now you've heard on a commercial, radio, social media, what is it that they're promising to do? What are they promising to do? It could be something in general or something you think they're gonna do for you. Something for the economy, make it better? Okay, improve economy.
Take taxes away from overtime.
Take taxes away from overtime? Okay. Anybody else? I mean, there's lots of things.
I know both candidates are talking about dropping taxes on tips.
Okay. Taxes on tips. So I guess we're just gonna pay people a regular wage. Who would be in favor of that? No tipping, we'll just do it like Europe and put the money in there, you guys make more money? Better thing? Okay, what else? Ron,
I heard from like there was like campaign commercial about like promising that there won't be like a nationwide ban on abortion.
there won't be a nationwide ban on abortion. Okay, yes,
I know Kamala Harris, she said that she plans to help jumpstart small businesses.
jumpstart small businesses. All right, let's keep going, this is important, go ahead. Say that again? Yes. First time home buyer program. That was Kamala Harris. Anybody else? Yes. You? Yeah. Ron, you're pointing to you.
I mean, I didn't hear Kamala say, something about she would help with, first-time parents.
What's that?
First-time parents.
So first-time parents, I guess something with home care, child care, or something like that. All right, what else?
Both candidates talk about fixing the border.
Okay, immigration, border. Does everybody think that that's a problem?
Yes.
Yes? Show of hands. Who thinks that immigration's a big deal?
Can we have a middle ground?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, is it an issue or not?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, fair. What else? What else are they promising to do? How about the cost of stuff? Anybody talking about that? Cost of healthcare, bring healthcare down. How about the cost of apples? Is anybody saying they're gonna bring the cost of apples down? What's that called? Exactly. Jimmy said inflation. So they're gonna reduce inflation. All right, what else? Come on, everybody participate. Everybody got an idea. Does anybody want, and if you don't know, you can go on social media right now, look at an ad and tell me what they're promising to do. What else? Gun control. All right, that's a great one. Yes,
Protect Israel and Ukraine.
protect Israel and Ukraine. Also, I guess give them money. All right, yes.
Lower drug costs.
What's that?
Lower drug costs.
Lower drug costs. Oh, that's a great one. That's needed. Anybody else from over here? Tell me something that you've heard. You've seen on social media, anything. Go ahead.
I've heard a lot about, Israel getting money from the United States.
Yes. You agree with it or no?
Some scenarios, yes, and some scenarios, no. So, should we use our own money to defend other countries? Not always, but also allegiance doesn't.
Yes. Okay. All right. I think we're at a pretty good list here. So, now we're going to talk about the role of the president. You guys are about to vote for a president. What does a president do? And if you don't know, you can start looking it up. That's fine. What's that? Go ahead. Diplomat. Okay. Protects people how?
Protects their rights.
Protects their rights. Okay.
Protects the public interest.
Okay, protects public interest.
They ratify and veto laws.
Yes, veto power, big deal.
I think the president should represent everyone. I know they're affiliated with a party, but at the end of the day, we all are American people, so they should.
They are the people's representative. Absolute fair point. So it doesn't, I mean, they run in a party, but once they win, they're everybody's president, right? What else?
Commander-in-Chief of the military.
Yep, there's another thing. Treaties, okay. What else does the president do? Look at the list above that in terms of what they're promising to do, and there's supposed to be a relationship between the two. What else?
Proposes legislation.
Proposes legislation, all right?
They select justices.
Yes, they select judges, appointees, lots of political appointees, diplomats, ambassadors, all those things, yes? What else? This is like the highest office in the land. Anybody proficient in Google? Okay. All right, now let's go down. What does a congressman do? Anybody? Okay. They vote on laws. How do they get the laws in the first place? They write them. So they write them and they vote on them. Okay. What else does a congressman do?
Represent their state.
That's senator. But it's still, they represent their district. So, represents district. What else? Yes?
Serve on committees.
They serve on committees. What do the committees do?
The committees advocate, consider legislation.
Yes, they advocate. So congressmen are advocates. What else? How about you? What do you think they do? You're about to vote on one, so you're not gonna vote? Okay. Who else can I pick? How about you, sir? What do you think they do? International relations. Okay. We see a lot of them go abroad and have meetings. Where's your congressman located? Does anybody know? I'm not talking about their office in DC. You vote on them here. Where are they located? Yes.
So I'm in a county seat for where Franklin County, so he's like in town square.
Yes. So, for those of you who don't know, your congressman is in your voting district. That's why you're voting on them. They're in the geographic area that you vote on. And so, you are tasked with picking out these people that are in these districts to figure out whether or not they're going to represent your interests. How are we going to do that? First you got to know what you're voting for. Yes?
They have the power to, like if the president vetoes a law, they can vote on it again.
They can, okay, reissue it? Yep. Veto override. Okay. All right, let's go down to the next one. Senator. What does a senator do? What's the difference between a congressman and a senator? Yes. They represent the whole state. Is that the only difference between the two?
Term limits?
What's that?
Term limits?
Well, they have, senators are 6 years, those guys, and you vote on 1/3 of them each election. The congressmen are 2. Yes?
Approve presidential appointees like cabinet members.
Yes. And judges, yep, they do that. They have hearings on all of those things. What about, think about social media. What have they done that you guys have seen in the media? Think Zuckerberg? They haul people in and they accuse them. Or how about TikTok? Is anybody familiar with the issue with TikTok?
So they brought over the CEO of TikTok from Singapore and claimed him being a Chinese communist.
Yes, they did. Anybody believe that? Is anybody here afraid of China getting your data, just in general? Just Anybody? Huh?
They're gonna steal the $5 to my name, like, I'm gonna call it.
Yes. What's that? Yeah, yeah.
I'm more worried about what our own country's doing with our data than any other country. I mean, like, for example, I do have experience with specifically Chinese stuff going on, like I was in the military, and we had chips that, had come in on some parts, like computer chips that had literal GPS trackers built in that were being put on aircraft in the Navy. And then we had like counterfeit bolts for the engines, to hold the
Oh, wow.
engines onto the wings. But where the computer chips were like an obvious malicious thing, where they were targeting US military assets, the bolts, that was just like a company being, capitalism. Hey, we're gonna pass off these subpar bolts as something else. But at the same time, like I said, I'm more worried about what our own country, like the fact that you go into any AT&T, like, or Verizon building where they run all the communications through, and there will be like one locked door that nobody can go into that is like,
Separating your data.
like combing through everything that goes through that data center,
Mhm.
and it's on behalf of the US government. And then when somebody actually comes out and says, hey, the government's like spying on you, they have to run away to a different country before they get thrown in jail for the rest of their lives.
Makes sense. All right. Last one, what's the role of the VP? Go ahead.
Take over presidency if the president
Yep.
is under.
Break ties in the Senate.
Breaks ties in the Senate. You have something?
They're the president in the Senate as well.
Okay. Anybody over here? What do you guys think? Does anybody in here use AI? Show of hands. I'm big time proficient user. So how many of you that use AI has asked AI, what's your thoughts on this particular candidate? What do you mean you can't say?
Like Google's Gemini says, I cannot come on. Like,
No, I'm talking about AI. I know Gemini's part, but if you ask them, did they do this? Will it tell you? All right, so we're gonna we'll go here, and I'm gonna show you something. All right, so this is a list. I just asked AI, in this case, what does the president do? And here, you see executive orders, their commander-in-chief, their diplomat. You can scroll up. Guardian of the economy, you guys got that too. Chief Justice. Crisis manager, chief administrator, manages agreements, symbolic, leader. Okay, now scroll down, let's look at the next one. What does a senator do? Propose and develops legislation. They're representing people here. They've got oversight of the different branches. Treaty ratification. Party leadership. So they're a little bit more important than a congressman, which will come up next. But they vote on things too. So they're the ones who approve the laws, as you guys absolutely were able to figure out. The representation is much more local. Again, oversight. And their big deal is the budget. So nothing happens in the government without them approving it. Have you guys seen anything about budgetary constraints, or that when the government was threatened to be shut down and so forth? Who was controlling that? those guys. Public engagement, fundraising, yeah, it's like, that shouldn't be their job, but. Now, let's look at the role of a VP. Support, diplomatic things. Has anyone in here seen anything that, on social media or an ad anywhere saying, how come Kamala Harris doesn't do this? How come she doesn't do that? You've seen those ads, right? There's the roles and responsibilities. What is the informal definition of what a VP does if you're the president? I bet you know.
Wait for the president to die.
Yes. Wait for, what is that?
Presidential spare parts.
That's right. Basically, this person's role that they're being, and I'm not trying to advocate for Kamala Harris, but in fairness to the role as we're studying, the president tells the vice president, go sit down in a corner and stay out of my way. That's pretty much what they do. So they can't do anything. So, let's go back to the Word document and scroll back to the top. Scroll back to the very top. Now, how many of these things, now that we're clear on what they do, here's what they're talking about, that they're telling all of you they're going to do if you vote for them. How many things on that list can the president actually do? So you guys identified all these things, and there's all this information out there asserting, these people every day are telling you that this is what they're going to do. Let's just take gun control. If gun control passes, who does that? Who? Congress. All right? So they ain't doing that. Reducing cost of health care. Does the president do that? We have Obamacare. Now they can propose it. They can issue a plan. But who has to pay for it? Congress.
Incidentally, on Obamacare, he neither created, wrote, or proposed. He waited for Congress to come up with it, and they used a Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, plan for that. Just so you know, this is new.
Senator, let's Ukraine foreign aid. Who's gonna prove that? So if you vote for Trump right now, is Trump going to be able to say, you know what, I'm giving boatloads of money to Israel? Can he? What about Kamala if she wins? Can she do it? No, she can't. But every day you're going to hear it because they know that's what you're paying attention to. So, does anybody know here how to tell if a politician is lying?
If they're speaking.
There you go. Fixing the border and immigration. This is a pretty hot one. This issue has been top 3 in the United States since the 50s. It hasn't been fixed since the 50s. This is nothing new. We're a country of immigrants, people come in, and then they don't want anybody else to come in. So, they haven't been able to do anything. Does anybody think this is an easy issue to fix? Show of hands. Who thinks it's easy? Medium complex? Very difficult. Okay. First time home buyers, first time parents program. Can Kamala do that? Can she approve her own, who has the purse? Congress. Congress has the purse. So no, she can't pay for it. She can ask them to do it, and they'll do it if they think the favor is worth it. Nationwide ban on abortion. So this is a big one for the Republican Party. They want to pander to people for this hot topic issue. It's a red state that we're in now. Can the president do this? Yeah? No? I mean, he can promise it, but can he do it? Yes?
Did it because Trump, like they gave the power back to the states, should the president even be able to take away that power, or is that something that has to go through Congress?
Who establishes the law? Congress. So if they want a federal ban, the federal law could supersede that, correct? Is that right, Dr. Rollick?
Yeah, but it takes a lot of political will,
Yeah.
and Congress actually doesn't have any political will, which is why presidents can do a lot of things that legally they can't do, because Congress doesn't push back. If they're in the same party in particular.
The executive orders. So they can do things, but if it costs money, can they do that? They can't appropriate the money without Congress though, right?
No, but Congress sometimes appropriates things in a very general way. And so sometimes they can shift things. For example, right now, there's a big controversy. Former President Trump is claiming that President Biden has taken money from disaster relief to give to migrants. Right? Have you guys heard that? Okay. So former President Trump is claiming that President Biden is doing this. President Biden is not doing this. There's no evidence of that. That's not happening. But President Trump actually did do that.
So I
He
know it's possible.
diverted money from disaster relief to give to the border, right? Is it legal? No. But in hyper-partisan politics, it requires that Congress check and impeach and stop the president, and it's really unlikely to happen.
Wow. So that's the danger. That's the danger of putting the person in the office, even though we see there's not a lot on this list that they can do. Who regulates the economy? What group does that?
Federal Reserve.
Yes. Who manages inflation on behalf of them?
Federal Reserve.
Federal Reserve. Who has more to do with the price of gas in this country, President or Federal Reserve?
Federal
Federal Reserve.
OPEC.
OPEC. That's true too.
It has nothing to do with any government ever,
No, it has nothing to do with it,
except for
right?
Saudi Arabia's government.
So, my point with all of this is that you guys are about to embark on voting and you're trying to figure out, like, how do I go about doing that? How do I participate? This is gonna be your way. If you're going to do that, you wanna avail yourself to whatever tools you can. You've seen where you can ask AI, what's this person do? Match that against what they're saying they're going to do. And if it isn't true, then what's another way of doing this? Well, I'm going to show you. We can go here, which is, this is the website and the company that I built to help you answer some of those questions. So in this, what I did, I've selected, just as an example, I made this up for today. All right, so I just picked a few topics, just a few, not very many. All these topics relate to how Congress, the Library of Congress classifies legislation. So these are the 4 that I chose, just as an example. Not meaningful, and what happens after you choose your topic, you then go here, close out of that. It'll bring up some bills. So I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna add something, I'm gonna deselect all of these. And it's going to provide us with bills that we can see now on just crime. Crime's a big issue right now, right? Everybody thinks crime's a big problem, even though Dr. Rowlett showed us that it's going down. So here you can view this bill. Here's a summary of it. And it gives you just a little blurb on what the bill is proposing. Improve statutory definitions, offense sentencing guidelines, expand the right to a jury trial for certain misdemeanor crimes. Does anybody agree with this? Who would vote yes on that? Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, it's not doing anything. Let's see if we can find something that's juicy in here. Police Act. What's in this? A deportable offense. Anybody agree with this one? No? No? All right. So I'll vote no. Now I will show you what has happened as a result of that. We'll go back to this. I'll select the 4 categories I also voted on before. And now, when I go to this person's, this is a senator. No, there's definitely a report card for all of these. Just can't get her to load fast enough. Yeah. Anyway, this is going, when the report card comes up, it'll show up. But at that point, it'll show you how well they represent you individually. It'll show you how well they represent all of us collectively. And then the differences between how you think and how the people around you think. So you'll also get a chance to see the differences in your community between you and your neighbors. So it's just another tool to get information and to help you with those decisions that we're trying to make, because we all have the same collective issues. We're trying to figure out what's good representation and what is not.